Hello, everybody, and welcome to the third episode of the FPL PubCast. Sorry, we are slightly later than scheduled. Joining me today are my good friends. First of all, fellow co-host, the legend, the FPL legend. I say that every week, then I check. Who is Nick TriggerLips? Roberto, a young, upcoming legend of TV commentary. Of the Form is Temporary podcast and the new co-host of Black Box, Andrew, FPL Nightmare. How you doing, lads?
Yeah, all good. Thanks for having me again. It was always, Gary. Enjoy it every time.
Trig, you all right, mate?
Yeah, very good. Looking forward to this one.
And Andrew, how did you feel yesterday when Az announced that to the world that you're going to be, I say co-host, you're going to be joining him on an episode of Black Box?
Well, I'm glad he announced it to everyone because I've been having to hide it from you for weeks, Gary, because you would have announced it to the world by yourself.
Probably unintentionally.
Just want to apologise that we're late. It's my fault. I was having a crackling in my headphones, and then I've got this external hive thing from my PC. And as I was unplugging my headphones, I accidentally restarted my PC, and then I couldn't get any sound through my headphones at all afterwards. And it turns out that I'd set the AI overclocking on, and that must affect my headphones or something. So after all the clarting, we're back, and I've not got any crackling in my ears, so that's good. You won't find me driven loopy over the next hour and a half or something. But yeah, sorry, just to hog all the airtime. I'm very excited to be invited on the Black Box. It's like a year ago I didn't even put my first video out, and now I'm getting invited on one of the biggest shows around, and it's a bit overwhelming, if I'm honest. I'm quite nervous in a way I'm not nervous about coming on here. So, but that's a good thing. I'm just nervous because of my associations with the notorious Nick TriggerLips.
You were nervous the first time you came on here, though, weren't you? It's just you get used to it, didn't you? And as you do these sorts of things.
Well, my price of appearing was I demanded to do the Manscaped ad that night. So
that would be something brilliant to behold. Right, just say hello to people in the chat. Sorry we kept you waiting. Hello to I tell you, I've told Roberto and Andrew this. We now have our official moderator, Budna. Hello, mate. Hello to FPL Hippie. Hi to Claire. Hi to Blonde, who's a Elite FPL regular. We will be trying to finish for you Elite FPL fans before 8, so you can go and watch those guys. And we've got in there Colm, Animations. Hello, mate. And Mark. Okay, so in a few little admin things before we get underway. As usual, the podcast. You're right, Andrew.
I'm just reading some news on the old Twitter. As Podner's said in the chat, are you celebrating the Sesko news? And I'm like, what's he on about? Like, There's nothing to celebrate being a Newcastle fan. But I wondered if something had happened. So I've gone on my Twitter, and apparently Newcastle are considering a move for John McGinn.
John McGinn?
John McGinn. He must be to replace Sean Longstaff, but I mean, I don't like John McGinn, and this is going to put me in a quandary. He does have a great big arse, though, and a great big arse always goes down well in the black and white.
He's the love of Yelena's life from a couple of seasons ago, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So just a reminder, as always, the podcast is any money we make from here goes straight to 2 charities. Mind. Who do a lot of work with mental health in the UK, and Street Child United, who do a lot of work with homeless children across the globe. Any super chats, anything you give us tonight will go to them, but it's even better if you can donate directly to charities, which you can do by clicking in the links in the description below. Also, we would love it if you join the FPL PubCast mini league. We've got about 110, 120 in there now, guys, I think. Slowly growing up. Please do. The code is S3DHWZ. That's S3DHWZ. Or click on the link in the description, which will take you straight to the FPL page. and sign you up. Did you see, guys? I've not checked it yet, but a few people said you're not having, if you go on FPL desktop, it was you, Roberto, wasn't it? You're not having to sign in now. It's a great.
Yeah, it's an absolute beautiful thing. You know, we should expect that, but finally we've been given it. And there's a couple other changes. You know, for instance, being on the left now, all the sort of stats and the transfers where you make your transfers, rather than it being on the right for the last sort of 25 whatever so years. So yeah, it's nice to see some normality finally.
Yeah, putting the same Sesko to Man United, Andrew. You can't hear you, mate.
Yeah, perhaps. I did that last week as well, didn't I? Hey, this is what I get for trying to be professional and not like talk over people by forcing myself to turn on my microphone. I forget to turn it on and look like a fool. Yeah, I mean, if Newcastle targets someone, somebody else swoops in at the minute. It's bizarre. But I'm just frustrated. We haven't gone for Darwin Núñez. He would be beloved at Newcastle. Like, you've got this big dilemma of how do you replace Isak? Liverpool want Isak, but they can't. They need Newcastle to sign a replacement. But also, they want to sell Darwin Núñez. Like, come on. I mean, like, it's not even being discussed in the media or anything. Why isn't that a possible move?
He's shy.
If you want... Yeah, if you want Darwin, Andrew, then you might as well take Nicholas Jackson at this rate.
Nicholas Jackson would be world class under Eddie Howe. He fits Eddie Howe's style of play perfectly. Like Jackson, with his driving runs and his counter-attacking style, his high pressing intensity, is everything that Eddie Howe needs. And Jackson would be a start as long as we had like an alternative for when he has, like a Wissa, if we get Wissa, for like when Jackson has his spells. I think Jackson would be wonderful at Newcastle, but he would not be top of my list. But I mean, I'm not really too bothered about Sesko. I don't even know anything about him except he was great on Football Manager a few years ago.
He was, yeah. So lads, what we're going to do today, and viewers, is obviously the last week. Next week, we're actually going to have a proper game week preview to get our teeth into. But for this week, we're going to answer what I've called the 7 key questions, which are going to be when to use our chips, which I know is very popular today, but we'll give our opinions. We're also going to talk about what's the best formation to play this season based on the players available. We're going to talk whether or not we're going Salah or not, basically yes or no. And what was the other thing that I put in? How much money we should be putting on the bench, which is sort of tied in to this bench boost discussion, really. Then we're going to have a look over our drafts. Andrew's made us a special draft of the top 10. The top 20 players are not in it. Top 20% owned players are not in it. And then Trig's done us a draft, another draft, which he'll show us later on, I'm sure. And then Roberto has prepared something a little bit special, which I won't spoil now, to end with. Okay. So, and do let us know in the chat as we go along, what you're planning to do with your chips or, with whatever we discuss. Okay, so the first one is when to bench boost. So I'll give you my opinions on this one first. So everyone is talking about a game 1 bench boost. I want to be dirt cheap on my bench. That's the way I start every season. I'm playing 3-5-2 and I want a 4 million keeper, 4.5 defender, a 4 million defender, and then a 4.5 striker. So I was going to definitely not do it. I am definitely not doing game week 1, but game week 2, with the news we've had today, which I believe is now official, that Dubravka signed for Burnley, my current bench would be Burnley, Dubravka and Esteve against Sunderland. Konza, I think, against Brentford or someone. So it's not great. And then a 4.5 million striker, which hopefully, if the lad who signed for Sunderland, I can't remember his name, has started, maybe. Well, so, yeah, I reckon that may only be... I mean, every season they say we should target 16 points from a bench boost in a double game week. So surely this season we're targeting 8 players. 8 points. I definitely think those players can get me 8 points. But obviously it's dependent on a lot of things happening. So, Roberto, I'll come to you, mate. What are your thoughts on when you're going to bench boost, and just in general, when should people be looking to bench boost?
I be honest on this one. I've been very sort of clear from the get-go, in my opinion, that I think benching boosting this early is just a disaster waiting to happen. Because I think there's just so much up in the air about even game week 2 as well. You know, we're resting our hopes on a Burnley defence that, yes, they were one of the best in the Championship last season, but let's not forget how poor they were defensively the last time they were in the Premier League. And yes, it's with a different manager, but, you know, we just don't know how Burnley are going to do. And game week 1 as well, I just think is an absolute, basically, it's a complete flip of a coin, because you don't know who's nailed and you don't know how well they'll do. And even, you know, some of the bench boost options you'd have, Leeds players, for instance, against Everton, it looks like a good fixture because we know that, you know, on the FTR, that's what it's showing at the moment. But Everton might be incredible this season. We just don't know these things. I think you need a bit of sort of data analysis and a bit of sort of getting to grips with how good teams are and their assets before you can bench boost. And I think, you know, a lot of people have talked about the wildcard 13 as a good sort of point to wildcard. I think wildcarding and then bench boosting after that just makes more sense because you can set yourself up. And also, like, people talk about early in the season about having value in your squads. You know, this is the lowest amount of money we're going to have at any point in the season. So to get this good bench boost, I think you're going to want to have a few weeks of value and players rising in price so that you can actually make the most out of your whole 15 rather than just having crumbs on the bench that just aren't going to score you points. So I honestly don't like it at all. And I would really prefer to delay it until at least sort of game week 9, game week 10.
Yeah, that all makes sense. And are you going to be going pretty cheap on your bench then if you're not planning to bench boost?
I think it's always important to have at least 1 or 2 players that you're confident to start. So a lot of people say, oh, if you've got a playing bench, but they're let's say players like Esteve, Mark Guiu, and maybe a Ronaldo from Sunderland, who's a 4.0, that's not, although that is technically a playing bench because you would expect all those players to play, I still wouldn't think that's strong enough. I think you need 1 or 2 players who you're comfortable starting every week. So let's say it's a Konza or someone like maybe even as cheap as a 4.5, like a Mark Gay or someone else, Richards, for instance. You know, you don't hate having to start them every week. Whereas a Sunderland defender who's probably going to concede a lot of goals, you don't want to bank on that every week. So I think you just have to have 1 or 2 in your bench that you can be starting most weeks.
Trig, what's your thoughts, mate? Have you decided or are you still open to ideas?
I've pretty much decided now, I think. The reality is of a bench boost, there's never going to be a perfect time to play it.
No.
Like Roberto said, there never will be. You're never going to have top quality players on your bench because there's no double game week. So we've just got to make the best of it. And to me, game week 2 looks by far the best option because you can get the Burnley keeper in. And like Roberto's saying they're in the Premier League, but they're playing Sunderland, who they were comfortably better than last season. And so they were better than them last. Yeah, exactly. So I'll get the Burnley keeper in, 4 million. Can't go wrong there. He's going to be starting. I mean, it's not like he's even going there to replace the incumbent keeper because Trafford's left.
Yeah.
So he's obviously going to be first choice. So I shall be bringing him in and bench boosting him. Probably have someone like Anderson of Fulham on my bench. And I've got, at the moment, currently I've got probably have to go with Guiu, who might not play the full match. We don't know yet. But even 1 point would do me. I'm only after 10 points from my bench boost anyway. I just want to get it out of the way and not have it impacting on the rest of my game weeks. Because if you run it through things and you see that you might get 15 points on your bench boost, but if it's going to cost you in later game weeks if you put too much money in it. So it ends up being worthless. So just use the minimum resources possible. Try and do it on a week when they've got a decent fixture and hope for the best. That's what I'll be doing.
Yeah, I think we'll have a pretty similar team. I think FPL Review's probably predicting about 10, 11 points. I mean, it's not a lot, but it's better than a kick in the private parts, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Are you suggesting I'm using FPL Review?
You said if you run it through a few different things, Trig. We'll get to that later.
It's called the brain, mate. The brain.
Is that quite a slow processing time I hear that's got? Okay, I mean, I'll come to what your thoughts are in a minute. But do you think, are we overthinking this or is the community overthinking this compared to what it's actually probably going to be worth?
What, overthinking the bench boost?
Yeah, in comparison to how many points we're actually likely to get from it, you know?
Well, it depends how many points you think is possible to achieve. I think people are absolutely underthinking the bench boost.
Really?
Oh, let's just play it game week 1. Let's just play it game week 2 and get it out the way. Well, why would you want to get it out the way? I mean, I've had bench boosts that get like 20 points. Like 20 points off 4 players isn't unrealistic if you pick the right week. And like I've not been looking at the camera for the last few minutes because I've actually been doing my first research into trip strategy just for this podcast live on the air. And already I've found a far superior strategy than anything you lot are discussing. But I might, seeing as you said, I won't ask you about your thoughts on the trip. I think I might save it for my own video next week.
No, I said I would ask. I said I would ask it.
Exclusive.
I watched Big Andy's video. He did a 40-minute video on it today in preparation. So I even did a bit of preparation myself. But he was saying a lot of people maybe save it to AFCON, as Roberto was saying. I mean, if I don't play it in game week 2, I'll probably just leave it and wait till it looks like I've got a good bench. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that's the thing. People are so fixed on, we need to plan for a bench boost. A lot of the time, I don't think you do. I think you just play it in a week that suits you at the time. You know, if you just run into a week where you're like, I've got such a good squad and I don't really want to bench that player because they're in great form and I've got another 6 attackers that I don't want to drop, just play it that week. You know, I think, people sometimes are like, but it's got to queue up perfectly with the wild card. And yes, that can sometimes work, but sometimes just playing it when you've got a benching headache is the best way, I think.
You disagree, Andrew?
Oh, of course I disagree. Now, this is the advice of the only member on the panel who has not hit that crucial top 10K ranking in the past ever. He's never hit that top 10K. The threshold, the threshold for being established as an expert, an official FPL expert, I am reliably told. Now, the thing is, the reason why he's never hit that top 10K has just become apparent. I don't think it's worth planning for these trips. These points boosted in a season where the points are going to be higher than ever, I'll just throw it out there at some random point when I might have 4 players. Right, I can't believe I'm going to do this because I've just devised a master strategy and I'm going to throw it all away off my own video. I'm probably going to cost myself all the views by revealing now. But if you remember, Praz said in his wonderful trip strategy video, let's go for the game week 3 wildcard. There's a good fixture swing in game week 13, not game week 3, game week 13.
Yep.
Yeah,
wildcard. Right.
Now, I have thoughts on that I'm not going to get into tonight because I don't think Steve-O believes game week 8 is the better option. And some people believe attacking the early fixtures and then wildcarding early to get your Liverpool and Arsenal assets in is, in fact, the way to go because you'll also have had a chance to build up the transfers. So you can use transfers later. There's merit to all of them. However, in game week 13, there is massive fixture swings for Bournemouth, for Liverpool, for Man City, for Man United and for Newcastle. 2 game weeks later, in game week 15, Bournemouth play Chelsea, but Brighton play West Ham at home. Liverpool play Leeds. Man City play Sunderland. Newcastle play Burnley. And Man United play Wolves. Now, wildcarding in 13 to get them fixture swings and then having 15 of the best players in the league from the best teams in the league against 3 promoted clubs, Wolves and West Ham, who could quite easily be in that relegation battle, makes a lot more sense than, I'll throw it away on triple Burnley defence in game week 2.
Exactly.
What does that have to do with a bench boost?
Because you can get 15 players from those 5 teams, Man City, Man United, Newcastle, Liverpool and Brighton, to play the 5 potentially weakest teams in the league. And then you've got 15 players with great fixtures. You've built up your money. And then in game week 16, you've got 5 free transfers to do whatever you want with.
Exactly.
Good luck affording it.
Well, in game week 13, I'll have had.
I guess you might be able to with Brighton players on your bench.
Well, in game week by game week 13, I'll have had 12 game weeks to build up some squad value.
Exactly, Andrew. Yeah, definitely.
But what happens if your team becomes a bit of a disaster and you are forced to play your wild card much earlier?
Well, then I can
you're gonna have to
wildcard
change it.
into a better squad, and I can save me transfers until that crucial game week 15 period, and then use 5 transfers in game week 15 and 5 transfers in game week 16 and sort it all out. Also,
there you go. So you're going to play your bench boost, and then you're going to have to spend 5 transfers to sort your bench boost out.
On with you, Trig. On with you.
So you're going to get an extra 5 points in your bench boost, and then have to spend the next 3 or 4 weeks using up all your transfers to try and fix your bench boost. This is what happens every year with a bench boost.
I'm sorry.
It's a rubbish chip.
I'm not sure if I'm talking to Trigger or Solio right now.
He's reading off a screen.
How dare I go against the algorithms?
The AI is speaking
I'm only
well.
messing.
All right, guys. So I think the sort of consensus is then me and Trig are planning game week 2. But I would only say, I'm not saying I'm sure on game week 2. If we can get out cheap benches and you 2 lads are going to just chill out and wait and see, yeah?
Yeah, chill out.
Cool. Let's see if anyone has got in the chat. Hippie, I think, is saying as near to game week 19 as possible. Agree with that, lads? Well, obviously, me and Trig don't.
Depends what your strategy is for the rest of it.
Depends,
But I'd just like to say, you're talking about all this, how are you going to afford it? It's only expensive if I go with Haaland and or Salah. Like, by then, there's plenty of other options. Like, I could go with Gvardiol, Nunes, and Rodri or Reinders. I could go with, Gakpo, Ekitike. I struggle with that name. There's lots of options there. It's only if you have them big 2 that anything's difficult. If you ignore both of them, you can have whoever you want, really.
Is that around Champions League time? I don't know, but have a Champions League in that on those weeks, because that makes a big difference as well with the bench boost. And it's another reason why it's good to play it before the European tournaments start, because you're going to get less injuries that way, and it's more predictable.
Well, you
Once
say that
Europe starts, it's tricky, especially if you're targeting the likes of Man City and Liverpool. And
yeah, I mean, you say that, Trigger. Like, isn't the European games for like teams like Nottingham Forest and Palace, depending on what European competition they're in, they've got like games to play between game week 1 and 3 anyway. So it's not too far off even if you wanted to do an early bench boost potentially.
I'm not sure it's that soon, is it?
In 1974, saying Nightmare falling into the trap that bench boost is useful. All right, lads, let's move on, right? So to the wildcard. I mean, really, these 2 are you're always usually linked, aren't they? Because usually you play your second wildcard, and then you play your bench boost. So I'll give my opinion first. So I've got no idea. I've heard Praz's idea. I've heard Let's Talk FPL Andy say, I can't remember when he said today, but when these fixture swings are potential to play it after an international break to build up some money. That's always a thing. All I would say is I'm not, to kind of double down on what Trig was saying, I'm not using it in conjunction with my bench boost because I do not want a ton of money on my bench that I've then got to spend time getting off my bench. It's bad enough. People complain enough when we do that in game week 34. And, you're talking about doing it in game week 17. It's just a bit crazy to me.
Game week 15.
15. Well, it's still bloody early. 37. So, Craig, I'll come to you. I mean, have you even looked at this yet? Have you put any thought into when you're going to wildcard at all?
I have no plan to wildcard whatsoever. I'll end up using it when I need to use it, probably. And if I get to game week 8 and I haven't needed it, and I still don't need it, but I'll keep it till game week 13 or whenever, and just play it by ear, because normally every season the template turns out to be absolute rubbish, and by game week 3 or 4 our teams are looking a mess. So I think I used it in game week 3 or 4 last season, but we all think we're all going to save up lots of transfers and can use a wild card when we aren't, but the reality is it'll all go tits up in about 3 weeks, and everybody will be pulling out their wild card chip probably.
Andrew?
Just to go back to the previous thing briefly, because I forgot a point I made in my excitement at discovering the ultimate bench boost strategy. The Burnley game week 2 thing, when Roberto said that you don't know how Burnley are going to handle these Premiership defences, well, Sunderland aren't a Premiership defence, not really.
That's what I said.
Yeah, but I agree with you. But let's just say Burnley shipped 5 against Tottenham. That's not going to look great for game week 2, even if it's Sunderland, right?
Well, let's just say they keep a clean sheet against Tottenham, then you're going to look like a genius. It's all ifs, ands, and buts. But you're talking, even if they do ship 5 against Sunderland, against Tottenham, Sunderland are a team that they beat 1-0 last season at Burnley, Turf Moor. Why wouldn't they do it again? Now they've got a better goalkeeper. They've got rid of that. They've got rid of that Man City reject. Have they got better players?
Adingra, you know.
Why is it not going to take
Roberto,
long for? They've got rid of Jude Bellingham for a 33-year-old Granit Xhaka who can't stay on the pitch half the time. You know, he's a midfield Nicholas Jackson. Like, I'm not having this Granit Xhaka's a great player talk. He's useless. There's
reason
no bias
Arsenal
at all
fans... with this, is there, Andrew?
Well, no, there's a reason Arsenal fans wanted him gone for years, because whenever it counted, he messed up. He got himself sent off. He was making silly fouls. He was getting booking after booking. I know this is Trig's secret 5 million weapon, but I'm going to rubbish him now. I'm not saying he's a bad player, but is he better than Jude Bellingham? I don't know.
His disciplinary record's been quite good in the last couple of seasons. He's not the young player where he was. He's only got 4 or 5 bookings the last couple of years, less than a lot of other Premier League
all
players.
I'm saying with Burnley is Scott Parker, you know, in the previous times he's been managing in the Premier League, he's had a Fulham side that he got relegated, and he had a Bournemouth side that lost 9-0 when he got sacked. So I'm not saying Burnley are a bad team necessarily, but I'm just saying we don't know how Parker will do. So it's a bit of a gamble, I still think.
It's always a gamble.
But take the other thing. If they did lose 5-0 against Spurs, that would really probably they'd be really wanting to prove themselves then against Sunderland. But I want to come back to Andrew. What are your thoughts on, if you've got any, mate, on when you're going to wildcard?
I'm sure I've literally just said game week 13 in preparation for that premium elite game week 15 bench boost.
Okay. Trig?
Do you not listen to me when I'm talking?
I thought I'd had my go already.
Yeah, Trigger's had his go. It's
Roberto. Because we started late, my brain's everywhere.
It's because Trigger bollocked you last week for not letting him talk enough.
Well, the answer to this, Gary, is very simple. It's for you and for you only. You know, everyone's going to be starting on different teams. And I know that Andrew's rolling his eyes, but honestly, because, you know, when you wildcard, it's down to which players you pick in game week 1. If you've got the template and the template absolutely goes off and is an absolute humdinger after the first few game weeks, you don't need to wildcard straight away. So it won't be that, everyone's got a wildcard this game week, because some people might be able to ride out longer than others. If you've had a stinker start to your game week 1 selection, then yeah, you might have to wildcard sooner. So I think ultimately it is dependent on what team you've got. For my own team, for the specific players that are in my draft right now, you know, they might be flying after the first 5 weeks and I don't need to wildcard, but they also might do terribly. So I think you just have to play it by ear and see how well your squad is. And if you get loads of injuries in 1 week and you've got 3 fit players, then that's probably a good week to wildcard.
We change his name to Roberto Generic Answer Hollis.
You need some tweezers to get them splinters out your ass from sitting on that fence too long.
The great thing is, though, Andrew, if you sit on the fence, you can't be wrong.
You bloody well can, because you're not going to win this game by waiting for other content creators to tell you what to do, Roberto. At some point, you're going to step up and say, this is how it's done.
That. How many people have done well from learning from what FPL Harry does and what Fran and, you know, FPL Praz, you know, all these managers, they know what they're doing, and then you can just take nuggets from it and adapt it.
Roberto,
we call it copying.
Roberto, you're on this program to promote the Farmers Temporary podcast, and all you're saying is, wait and see. I don't know. Play it by ear. Just play it safe. Don't take chances. People want strong opinions on the YouTube thing. This is why Nick TriggerLips is such a phenomenon, because he will call out anybody. He will say whatever comes to mind without any thought to the consequences. And that's what you need to. This is the next step of your development, Roberto.
No, I'm too nice for that.
No,
What
you
can I
have
say?
to. You have to say, I think everything is great, but this is just a little bit greater.
Andrew, you've already made a whole video sucking off TriggerLips. Leave it alone for a little.
This is a charity stream. I keep getting told off for being controversial, but I don't say anything bad.
I should have said Brown though, shouldn't I? That would have been. Anyway, Claire's saying Norgard now 2-1 up. That's Arsenal, is it? That's the new song.
Who else scored then? Who else scored?
I'm not sure. She's probably put it in the chat.
Arsenal were 2-0 down, and Norgard got
2-1 to they're playing Villarreal.
Down, yeah.
Yeah. Hippie's saying game week 19. Game week 19. I've done
That's
it.
last week. That's the last week we can use it. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
You're lucky
if you can leave it that long.
Get very lucky.
The thing is, I mean, game week 20, is when you can make your second wildcard. So what's the point of wildcarding? Let's say you had a great wildcard team for game week 20 planned. Imagine you can't wildcard back-to-back weeks. I don't think the game would let you. So
it would. I wonder if that's probably happened in the history of FPL. There probably has been someone whose game free-hitted in 19 thought, I hate this new team, and then free-hitted in 20. It's got to happen, though, for the history of FPL, hasn't it?
Maybe.
Well, we've only had 2 wildcards for a few years, but there'll always be some fool that'll do something silly, like Hippie. I mean, you can tell he's a hippie. He's too much time on the LSD and not enough time on the FPL.
I'm saying game week 12-13, which I think what you were saying, Andrew, isn't it? 13.
Yeah.
Allowed saying I would wait at least 3 game weeks before using any chip. Possibly. Okay. All right, lads. This one's again. I did hear a few people. So I'll give my opinion first. When to use the free hit? I mean, I'm just going to look at the fixtures every week, and when the big teams, there's always going to be an Arsenal or a Man City. I'm sure you guys have probably done more research on it. You're probably better to say when this is. Don't have a big game and you don't have any of their players. I think that's going to be the perfect time to use it this season. I should have remembered. Big Andy did say earlier on in the video I listened to when one was. I think there was one in game week 6 or 7 maybe, when Arsenal and I think it was Bournemouth both had good fixtures, but he didn't think anyone would have them in their sides. You know what game week I'm thinking here, Roberto?
I think there's one game week 6 when Man City play Burnley. Might be the one.
That might be it. And so basically to use it then, or to use it when I've got 3 or 4 players out, but they only think it's going to be for a week, and I can use it and not have to use transfers. That's my basic idea. Andrew, I'll come to you first on this one, mate.
If you are intent on throwing away such a powerful weapon as a bench boost, perhaps the most powerful chip in the game, even including the wild card, if you are intent on throwing that away in the first couple of game weeks, why not free hit in game week 15 when those 5 teams have sensational fixtures and you can definitely afford Salah and Haaland on a free hit because you can pick whoever you want.
Yeah, the only thing with that, Andrew, is you'd have to make sure you use all your transfers in game week 14 before you free hit, because obviously
Oh no, we have to sign players. However, will we go?
I'm just saying. Let's just say, you didn't want to make a transfer.
Have 5 transfers by then, anyway.
No, but you carry your transfers through the wild card now, don't you? Or have they changed that? Don't tell me they've changed.
Yeah, but in game week 16, everyone gets them maxed out to 5 because of the AFCON.
Of course, bonus. Yeah, of course, yeah. Roberto, any thoughts on this one?
I think this one is based on which players you don't have. So it's basically trying to cover the swords v shields all the time. And this is trying to cover the players you don't, you're scared about, the ones that will, get you up at night, in a cold sweat because you're thinking, I don't have that player ready for the game week. And, it's not easy, especially with Haaland being a 14 million, to have a team that looks good enough with Salah and Haaland. So you can just, where Salah has a bad fixture and Haaland has Burnley, free hit that week if you wanted to. I also think free hitting in a week where there's a lot of teams, so for instance, if you've got loads of Liverpool and Arsenal players and in game week 3, you didn't want all of them playing against each other, you could target that week just to kind of have a very differential team and not have all the highly owned players from the big clubs if they're playing against each other. Sometimes that might be a good window to do it.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing I'll say, Andrew, when you said that, I think there's only one season, and it was in the COVID season, you know, when basically a lot of people, I think, did this. It's sort of, because we got a free wild card, it took away the need to play the free hit. And then I played it in the final game week, and it did work. But other than that, I've never used it in a non-blank game week. There's also that terrible chance that your original team could score higher than your actual team. Do you worry about that, Trig?
Yeah, it's happened before, I think.
Yeah, it's yourself.
Because you go different from everybody else, don't you, if you do that? And then it can backfire on you if you're not careful.
Yeah, it can. So, Trig, any thoughts on when you're going to use it, man?
I'll probably keep it as long as I can, just in case there's an unexpected double game week. I mean, you never know if there's a weather postponement or a terrorist event or something, whether something could get postponed somewhere. Well, it happens, doesn't it?
Queen dies.
Yeah, anything like that.
The Queen died about 5 years ago, pal. You're about the king.
And so I just keep it for when I need it.
To be fair, we might need one for like an alien invasion soon, so it's probably worth just having in the back pocket.
This is not a Brexit podcast.
I once listened to an entire episode of Elite FPL on 8 o'clock for you guys watching, where Jason basically spent 75% talking about alien conspiracy theories and 25% talking about FPL. So we're not in talk. Have I asked all you guys?
That sounds like a standard episode of Elite FPL, to be fair.
Have I missed someone here?
Well, you asked me a question and then handed it over to Trigger at the end of the question.
Oh, sorry, mate. All
right. I think I've made my point anyway. Like a game week 15, if you're bench boosted early, game week 15 is perfect.
Yeah,
because you can have who you want, and then it's the AFCON the week after, or any game week 19 is the reverse of the game week 15 fixtures, I believe. If I just
pretty sure.
I think so. Game week 19 is great fixtures for the big clubs because that was one of the points Praz made. You don't need to worry about your triple captain because if no great opportunity comes up, that last game week where it needs to be used as great fixtures for all the big players. So, yeah, that's my opinion. Just game week 15, if you go out early with your bench boost, or another time. Although the thing is, get bench boost a free hit in game week 6 to get Haaland versus Burnley. Why wouldn't you start with Haaland?
Because
he's got Wolves, Spurs, Brighton, Man United, and Burnley in his first 6
But in a
games.
lot of those fixtures, Andrew, I don't think you'd pick Haaland as the number one captain outside of the Burnley game. So you could start with Salah and just have Haaland captain Burnley free hit.
Have you seen Haaland?
Depends on Salah, I think, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I prefer Salah, I think.
You do it at the moment, but I mean, if he turns out not to be as great as we all think he's going to be, then a lot of people will switch to Haaland in game week 6, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if need be, you could always just bring the wildcard forward and wildcard Haaland in game week 6. Have him for long term.
You don't think Haaland versus Wolves is the best captain in game week 1?
Correct.
Who do you think's better? Cole
Salah.
Palmer. Salah?
Mo Salah.
Who's
Against the Bournemouth side that have got their whole defence leaving, I think it's pretty good.
All right, let's move on.
Interesting.
Let's move on. I'll just read a couple of things out from the chat. I won't read out that because it's about a court case. Booster is saying Man United are making an approach for Belieber now. That's the Brighton lad, isn't it? Belba.
He's 5 million Brighton person.
Would that make him more attractive?
I don't know. He'd be in the same
they've got bad
position as
fixtures.
Casemiro, wouldn't he?
Yeah. I mean, Man United make all good fit players worse, so...
This is not necessarily true. FPL Tom Hadley has been putting out some tremendous DEFCON graphics over the last few weeks, and I'm pretty sure he put one out that said of the fixtures he's played, Casemiro would have got 4 points or more in something ridiculous like 80% of games, 85% of games.
DEFCONs.
So if Belieber is, including the DEFCONs and the goals. So if Belieber's coming in and taking that role, like Belieber scored, I think, 3 goals last season. I just waffle a couple of seconds while I bring up 3 goals and 1 assist. And if you add in, he's playing in a position, in a role that would have got Casemiro, and also Bruno Fernandes absolutely killed it for the DEFCON points playing deeper as well. Like, it could be a bit of a gem. Only £5 million.
Is Casemiro leaving now?
Don't know.
Because if he's staying, they'll probably be sharing it, won't they? So minutes-wise, it might not be so good for Belieber.
All right, let's go on to triple captains. So Greg's saying here he likes Praz's take. Save it for when you fancy, or 15 to 19. Com's saying free hit. Haven't thought much about it yet. Greg saying free is good in the back pocket as soon as you're tempted to -8. Yeah, that's a good point, mate. So this is probably the easiest one to discuss, I guess. The triple captain. I mean, for me, I'm gonna have Salah or Haaland in my team, I imagine, for a lot of the season, and it's just waiting until one of them's on form. They play against probably Sunderland, maybe Burnley, and and things just look right. You know what I mean? That happens to be in my team that side. I mean, I think someone said the best one would be Salah against Sunderland, which I can't remember what game week that was in. Maybe 16. I can't remember. But anyway, Roberto, what's your thoughts on this one, mate? Just wait and see.
I think it's interesting because obviously when it comes to double game weeks, I think there will be more convergence of strategy of who you triple captain. Whereas this is the opportunity, I think, to be different because we've got single game weeks to choose from. So I think you could be a little bit more daring in your triple captain in the first half of the season and do it on someone maybe not like a Haaland or a Salah and try and take a punt and see if they can get some upside. So maybe like an Isak game week 15 against Burnley if he's still at Newcastle potentially. For instance, someone like a Palmer, as long as he's not playing, at home against a team in blue, because you know what that's like for missing a penalty. But for something like that, where you can go outside of Salah and Haaland just to sort of chase the upside, and if it goes wrong, hey ho, you've got the main sort of higher upside in the double game week later on in the season to catch up if you need to. So I think I quite like taking a punt maybe, and on maybe like a Bowen if he's got a plum fixture, but I certainly wouldn't be using it in the first couple of game weeks.
Yeah, I've never liked that logic. It's like you captain the best player. It's only double. It's only an extra point. I mean, I always think you just go for the best one. Andrew?
I believe that the triple captain is a trip you can just go with on instinct when you feel like it. I mean, Cole Palmer against Sunderland at home in game week 9 looks lovely.
Yeah,
I would say I will definitely be triple captaining somebody against Sunderland. I don't know if Isak would be the one. And I mean, are you really wanting me to get started on Isak? I don't want to get bollocked off TriggerLips.
We've got to finish by 8, so no, stay off Isaac.
We've got plenty of time. But, you look at some players that have been... Bruno Fernandes, why you can't rule out Bruno Fernandes for a triple captain because he has that 17, 19, 22 pointer in him every season.
Definitely.
Normally against promoted teams. So he's a great option. Haaland, this is the problem with free hit Haaland in game week 6. You could triple captain him against this apparently woeful Burnley defence that can't even keep a clean sheet against Sunderland at home and is going to lose 5-0 on the first match back. So why wouldn't you start with Haaland with the triple captain in mind for game week 6? There's always options. But it's not one I would be considering. Like Trigger said before, you could get a random double game week in the early part of the season. Like Everton and Liverpool had that double, although I suppose that was after game week 20. But, if a fixture's cancelled and Haaland suddenly has a double game week against Burnley and Sunderland and you've used your triple captain on, Isak against Liverpool, you're going to feel a bit silly, aren't you? So I would just save that one. And knowing that in the back of your mind, you've got that game week 19 where all the big players have great games.
No, good point.
I reckon, I think stats, go for it, Nick.
It's a bit risky, isn't it, in a single game week? So we're in a bit more danger with the triple captain, I think, because, like you said, captain Salah at home to Sunderland or Haaland at home to Sunderland, no guarantee that someone like Haaland plays in a game like that when there's Champions League and that on. So it's a bit more risk. Fernandes was a good shout because United have got no Europe. He's going to play 90 minutes against everybody. So like, if he is at home to Burnley or Sunderland, he's just as good a shout, I think, probably.
Yeah.
But it's risky. There's a lot of luck in these chips, isn't there, really? I mean, I got huge amount of points last season with Salah in game week 24. Absolutely massive. I can't remember what he got, but it was like, was it 29 or it might have been more than that?
No, something like that.
Yeah.
Currently got 50 people watching. Please do hit the like so I'll get the stream out
But,
there.
that's why I don't like these chips, because they're just so luck based, aren't they?
Yeah. Trig,
They're
so
annoying.
I was going to hand over to you for this one because you made a video about 4-5-1 today. So the basic question is, what's the best formation for game week 1? I'll hand over to you, mate. Maybe you can like give a summary of what your research into this topic has brought. And
Well, I mean, traditionally, I've always started with a 3-4-3. And but I think these new rules, the new defensive contributions, have changed all that. And I think we need to realise that FPL is not the same this season. It's not the same. And also, the striker pool is looking very poor to start the season with. It could become very good, but to start the season, very poor. We don't know about the Arsenal striker. Isak's out of action. Ekiteke, we don't know if he's left on the left or right. This is on strike or whatever he's doing. And it's just not very many. It's like Watkins, Strand Larson, and Chris Wood are like the only sort of 3 real options out there. So, and you look at the bonus point system, which has nerfed attackers and put other players more in favour. And I know looking at Solio yesterday that they do not consider forwards to be that great. When it tries to make a team for you, it wants you to just have one striker because there are more points elsewhere. You know, the likes of Anderson at Forest, the Geordie Messi or Maradona or whatever he is. Those sort of players can now outscore the cheap forwards. So I'm looking at changing formations. So obviously 4-4-2 is an interesting one. I've seen quite a few people going 4-4-2. It makes it quite affordable as well. You can have like a premium defender in there instead of that third striker and kind of get 150 odd points plus guaranteed. Of course, you're not swapping them like you would do with a striker. So, you know, if you can ride hot streaks to strikers, then they are useful. But you can also end up getting cold streaks as well, can't you? But so you'll see when we do my current team, but I've gone for a 4-5-1 at the moment, and it was actually inspired by Solio. I will put that out there, and I just did that for the show, basically to point out that there are lots of alternatives, and I think we need to kind of change our perspective a little bit because the game is not as we know it.
Don't worry, Trig. I've got a roasting for you later on Solio coming up, but we'll save that to the drafts. I'll just give I agree with you, Trig. Just in general, when I'm drafting, I see so many midfielders I want and so few strikers. I mean, defenders. I mean, no one's gone for a 4-4-2 or a 4-5-1 for a 5-4-1 for years. But so I'm on a 3-5-2 at the minute. Andrew, you got any thoughts on this?
Right, I do, and I was going to save them for Trigger's draft, but I will save some of them for Trigger's draft. But what I would say is that all the biggest points come in midfield, and now they get ball recovery points as well. So, like 3-5-2 traditionally will get you the most points over the season. However, at the start, you're more likely to get points off a 4.55, 5.5 million midfielder than you are a striker. So it's better to have one of their. It could be seen as better to have a 5.5 million midfielder on your bench as first sub, just in case. Now, the other thing you could do is just have 4 good defenders and go with 3-5-2 formation, with the 4th defender being your first sub. have that GW1 or whatever he's pronounced as from Sunderland, your 4.5 million guarantee has to play a certain amount of minutes this season. Otherwise, Sunderland face financial penalty. So you can have him as one of your sub strikers and then sack off the other one, I suppose. But the problem is, if you do sack off your strikers, like Trigger's talking about the 4-5-1, if you do that and you go with 4.5 million, what happens if your striker misses the game for some reason? He gets an illness, he's hit by a bus, or he's dropped. You've got nobody that can come in because you need a striker. And if you've got 2 throwaways on your bench, you've got no proper sub. Whereas if you have a defender if you go with at least 2 decent strikers, you're always covered with a cheap defender or midfielder who can pick you up some proper points. But in general, I think I'll probably be starting 3-4-3 with Elliot Anderson as first sub. I know he's not people are getting bored of him because he was the obvious 5.5 million at the start of the season. But there's nothing that's really changed from the start of the season that suggests somebody else would be better for me. So the only thing is, if you go like maybe Dewsbury Hall just signed for Everton 5 million, he could maybe be. But I would say 3-4-3 would be my likely starting formation. I certainly don't go with this big at the back talk. Like, I just don't. I would rather, like people say at the start of the season, I'm rambling a bit here. People say at the start of the season, stick with the tried and trusted on the most part. So why on earth would you change that for something as major as a formation, just on the off chance these DEFCON points are going to be game breakers?
Yeah, Roberto?
I have to thoroughly agree with Andrew. I think people are overhyping the DEFCON points. And, as Andrew says, it's not going to make such a big difference that we change our formation to accommodate for it. Now, there might be more viable squads with like 4-4-2s, for instance, if you want to go for 4 centre-backs and then a cheap 4.0 defender, and then sort of have less sort of funds in your midfield. But I think, as Andrew said earlier, midfield is where the points are, and I think always will be. So I think you're going to want to maximise your midfield. And if it means having 2 strikers, that's okay. But I don't think you want to have just the one, as Nick has, because, as Andrew said, it's going to mean you're over-reliant on having, a striker starting every week. And then with regards to who I think, what I think is the best formation, I honestly still believe 3-5-2 and 3-4-3, because even with these defensive contributions, the chances of them getting to 10 in a given game week is still quite low. And it's only an additional 2 more points. So I think maximising the attacking returns, even for some of these 5.5 mids, an Adingra over the season could still match an Anderson, even in a worse team, because he's just more likely to get attacking returns, in my opinion. So I think going for that attacking formation makes more sense than prioritising a defensive one.
Just to come back on that, when you say when the points are in midfield, however, at the lower bracket, I think you're going to get more off a 4.5 million defender than a 4.5 million midfielder on the whole. So I do think that's maybe worth considering when you think of your first sub. But apart from that, But definitely. I feel like we should chuck it back to TriggerLips now. He's had a bit more, and let Trigger give us his thoughts after our sterling advice.
When we go to my team, then I'll continue it then. Move on a bit.
I'm saying triple captain on Josh King Fulham in game week. What is it you've got with Josh King, Cole?
He's a Fulham fan, so that's why.
I mean, I think I had my worst ever. I don't know if he's a triple captain, but a worst ever captain on Josh King. Maybe
that's a different Josh King. Yeah, it's a Fulham Josh King.
Oh, it's a different Josh King. Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it wasn't. It was Josh King actually got a couple of points, and then another lad got sent off. Who played for the same
Watford.
team.
Yeah,
I remember. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Watford, of course.
No, but there's a player currently for
Dennis
Josh King.
the Menace.
Yeah, the man, the myth, the legend.
But they're saying it's not the same this season because of the price and the players. They've made us all think good. Yeah, I think it's good. Greg's listing the number of people who could die in order for us to get a double game week. Claire's saying Dennis. Okay, all right. So let's move on to the next one. which you've already kind of touched a little bit on with the discussion about bench boost, but money on the bench for game week 1. I'll give my opinion in here first. I go as cheap as possible. I always have a 4.5 defender starting defender who's going to come off my bench if there's one injury and I don't want to transfer that player out. Other than that, I want cheap in every position. Andrew, do you want to go first on this one, mate? Because I think you've not got the same opinion as me on this one. I think it'd be fair to say.
For the sake of moving the show along to ensure finishing time for Elite FPL, I would say I would prioritise having substitutes that play over an extra million in the first team.
Okay. Roberto, do you agree with that?
I fully agree with that. Yeah, I think it's important that you could lose FPL in the start, but I don't think you're likely to win it. And what I mean by lose FPL is if you don't own certain players that are highly sort of favoured and backed, and we're going to start. If we get to a stage where later on in the season a 4.0 defender emerges that is starting, you can bring them in then. But I think for the start, you just want players on your bench that are going to play. And if that means spending a little bit extra, as long as you're not going excessive amounts, if you're not planning on bench boosting game week 1, I think you don't want to spend, let's say that you don't want a player, an asset more than about sort of 6 million, 6.5 million. Let's say a Strand Larson was your first sub. That's probably as strong as I would go. And then after that, maybe a 5.0 or a 4 million. But yeah, I don't think you want to spend too much because otherwise you're just going to, ruin the rest of your starting 11.
Greg, what's your thoughts, mate?
As cheap as possible. I think you need one decent player on your bench, but I think the new defensive points have made it easier to have good cheap players on your bench now because they're not too bad. Not much to say on it, to be honest. You see, when you get to my team, I've got not much on my bench.
All right, last one, and I'm going to come to Andrew here. I mean, we're going to look in a minute at his team that has no top 20%, none of the 20 top owned players in it, and he had to make. I did actually listen, and you did make because I listened to it the first night, but I only half listened to it. I listened to it properly today, and you do make some compelling arguments against Salah. I mean, that video's done really well, Andrew, hasn't it? And can you give us your arguments for not having Salah? Because I think certainly me and Roberto are going to argue for having him.
I certainly can give you my arguments for not having Salah if you go over to my channel immediately and watch my video. But no, in all seriousness, I don't want to tell people not to start with Salah. I just want to make people realise that he is 33 years old, which is around the same age Kevin De Bruyne was when he suddenly dropped off a cliff and became nothing. Also, Salah has... Liverpool have had a complete overhaul of the team. They've got 2 new defenders, perhaps a new goalkeeper if Mamardashvili starts. They've got a new main midfielder, a new striker, and this chemistry all factors in, and it's all going to have an impact on Salah, and it's less likely to be a positive one. I would also say, in addition to his age and his new team that he's playing in, I've lost my train of thought now. Oh, the fixtures are terrible. You've got him against Bournemouth, who aren't a bad team. I know people say, they've conceded a lot in pre-season, but pre-season's about fitness. And Iraola has a team that are fitness monsters. And come that first day, they'll have been honed to be at peak fitness for that first day. And I expect Liverpool to win. I probably expect Salah to score, but I also expect Erling Haaland to score. And then in game week 2, Salah has Newcastle, whereas Haaland has Tottenham at home. And then in game week 3, Salah has Arsenal and Haaland has Brighton. Now, maybe Salah outscores Haaland in game week 1. Does he outscore him in game week 2 and game week 3 as a whole? Who knows? That's the gamble. 14.5 million is an awful lot of money. It is a lot of money. It's a difference between having Salah and Baleba and, Bruno Fernandes and Cole Palmer.
Lads, I've just remembered, I keep remembering to do this. I figured out how to put polls in. I put a poll up about whether or not Salah's going to be in your game 1 draft or not. So let us know.
I would say, I mean, let's be honest. Like everyone's going to go with him because it's too much of a risk to go without him. But I do think people might look back and think, maybe we should have gone without him.
I agree. I mean, you made very compelling arguments in that video. I do agree about the age thing, and people mentioned about the contract as well. He sort of fell off a cliff a bit when he'd signed that, didn't they? Roberto, I know you're going to be. I'll let you speak for me here, mate. I know you're going to argue against this one.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. A lot of the points I did disagree with you respectfully, Andrew, because I just think, the fact of fixtures. If we take that point first, Salah has shown for as many seasons as he's been at Liverpool now, since 2017-18, he doesn't need a good fixture run to score FPL points. And Bournemouth are a team, I know that last season they were very good, but that was when they had, players like Howson and Kepa. They've lost a lot of their good defenders. Newcastle, I see, is actually quite a good fixture for Salah because I think that game will be sort of end to end.
Oh, do you? Was it good for him in the cup final when Tino Livramento pocketed him?
No, it was good for him at St James's Park in the Premier League, though. I seem to remember. So I don't know. I think.
Oh, was that when he had Trent Alexander-Arnold doing all the work for him, and Trent's gone now?
Yeah, well, no, I think that'll be high scoring. And then Arsenal, he's always done well against Arsenal over the years. But no, to make a point on Salah, I don't think this guy ages. I know he ages in reality, but he's just
we all age,
man.
Just me, Roberto.
Honestly, like every single time I see that man, I think he can't get any younger, but he just does. He's just ripped every single time. And yes, I take your point about the new attack in Liverpool, Andrew, but I think that just makes Salah a better option because he's now got the creativity of Florian Wirtz, who's going to provide plenty of assists for him. And I think as well, like players like Ekitike and Wirtz are going to cause issues because they're going to start thinking a lot of Premier League defences. We need to look at Wirtz. We need to look at Ekitike. And then Salah's going to be in space and have a bit more of a free reign. So I think ultimately Salah is just, if the fixtures were a bit better, it would have been great. But he's still got Burnley and Everton game week 4 and 5. So I'm absolutely on the Salah train.
Yeah, but you can bring him in for them. You can transfer him in for them.
But how are you getting to him? And,
sell Haaland.
Well, that's the point. You said that Haaland was a must.
I'm going to cut in because I don't want Trigger to start swearing, and it looks like he's having a bit of a shock there. What's your thoughts, Trig?
Well, I didn't really want Salah as such. I mean, he hasn't been in my drafts up until now, but things have kind of been happening to push me towards him. I mean, firstly, we're getting like a 4 million keeper, got Gayu, and Saka's not really appealing. The Arsenal striker's not really ready. And when I look at teams without him, they're not actually that much better than the team I've got with him because the likes of Anderson for Forest and that, if I don't have Salah, then I don't have the likes of him. And I want someone like him in my team. And he does start the season strong. I think he will decline, but, he's not going to decline against Bournemouth. And I think it's going to be their first league game since the Jota thing. And they're going to be so up for that game. And I just don't want, to be honest, I just don't want to be on the Friday night having a terrible start to the season when Salah scores a hat-trick if he does. And I don't want to be having a miserable day. So I'm just going with the flow, basically. And probably going to have him. Unless he looks awful in the Charity Shield and they look hopeless, then I might go without him. That's going to have a bearing. But I don't see me keeping him all season. But I may as well start with him. We have got wild cards and everything, so I can take him out when I know where to put the money, because at the moment I don't, because I'm not particularly enamoured with Saka, who would be the natural kind of replacement for him, or an expensive striker like Isaac, and he's not available. So if Isaac goes to Liverpool, then I might have a rethink if that happens very shortly. But also Bournemouth selling their best defender to PSG isn't good, and Christie might be injured, and Bournemouth might be good, but they've been crap in pre-season and they've lost so many of their players. So I think I probably am going to start with Salah now. So, yeah.
So the results of the poll were quite tight. 55 yes, 45 No. Does that surprise you, Andrew?
I think it's people causing mischief. I've been logging in with 10 different accounts to weight it back in no Salah's favour.
All right, let's read out some comments. David saying, looking at my team with no Salah, but looking at having no Salah, but Palmer, Haaland, and Wirtz made me feel better than trying to replace Haaland with Marmoush and someone else. Fair play, mate. Gorez still out. However you say his name, Gyökeres after 56 minutes. So he apparently took in a good condition. Greg's saying. Craig Boy is saying no Salah. I've got a vendetta against him due to the fact that I didn't pick him at any point last season. He got ripped to pieces in my mini league. Fair enough, mate. I know that feeling. Tyler Little saying no Salah or Haaland. Wirtz, Gapco, Aita Nuri, and Mamouche to cover. Kleiner is saying can put Salah in your team. Put money from your Salah into your bench boost. And Trig is saying, David Hamill's saying Trig has betrayed the DU now. You know what he means there?
Because D Unit's anti-Salah and I was anti-Salah, but now I've switched side.
Okay. All right, lads, let's get on to our drafts. Right, so my draft, which has changed a little bit since last week. So, lads, I'm going to do a new thing this from the going forward. I'm going to read out everyone's draft, and then I'll hand it over to you to. I'll read out the draft, and I'll hand it over to you to discuss, if that makes sense. Just because I think it's easier to do it. But anyway, my own draft. I'll read it out, and then I'll talk through it. So, Keller in goal. Anderson, Morello, and Virgil at the back. So I'm going 3-5-2. Semenyo, Ndidi, Palmer, Salah, Wirtz in midfield. Wood and Solanke up front. Dubravka, Konza, Esteve, and Gayu. Is that you say it? Does anyone know? Yeah. So FPL Review came out this week. Everyone knows that I'm a big fan of FPL Review. But I made a whole members only video. You can become a channel member by hitting the join button. Only 99p, where I unveiled this draft on Sunday. Andrew's a channel member, and it was very dissimilar to FPL Review, wasn't it, Andrew?
All I heard was 30 minutes of nonsense trying to justify and prove to people that you're not a review merchant 10 days before the deadline.
Right, so
nobody believes it'll be your final squad.
Some of the things that I did have, which are exactly the same as last week, Review backed up a lot of it. So Morello and Virgil were the highest scoring defenders according to Review. So in terms of midfield, Salah and Palmer. The only changes I've really made, Anderson I got in over Wan-Bissaka because apparently he does very well in terms of defensive contributions. And I also think he rotates slightly better with Konza than Wan-Bissaka does. Semenyo, I just love the guy. I don't want to, I know he's got Liverpool in the first day, but I absolutely love him. The only change in midfield is Ndidi coming in. I've been convinced on the defensive contributions. The only forward last season to have any defensive contributions gets goals. He's got really good fixtures as well. I had Matoma in there last week. The other three haven't changed. I still think Wirtz is probably. I mean, it's the same. You see, like you were saying earlier, Andrew, about can't remember you were saying it about Anderson. You know, they've gone out of fashion. It's like Wirtz is out of fashion now because he was in everyone's. A lot of people are talking him down, mate. But not, as you say, nothing's changed.
He's the fourth highest owned player, Gary.
Well, with the content creators and the people talking about it, he seems. I know Az loves him, and then I've gone to the biggest changes to my strikers. I've got Wood and Solanke now. I know. Solanke isn't 100%. Is he still? He's a bit of a doubt, isn't he? But
he's a doubt. He's had no pre-season, and even if he plays against PSG, he's going to recover 3 days later to play Burnley. So I think you're going to have a bit of an issue there,
possibly. And I still sort of want Bowen in there. And Chris Wood, I'm just really like Nottingham Forest's fixtures, and my team is called. Which you can check out if you sign up to our mini league using the code in the description. It's called I Hate Chris Wood. Every season I name my team after the player who hurt me most last year. And then I remember one season I was top of the mini league, and it got read out in a podcast, and it was called "I Hate Harry Kane." And they're all like, "Why's he got Harry Kane in his team then?" Yeah, so I'm fairly happy with this. Your thoughts, lads?
Go on, Trig.
Looks reasonable to me. Have you got any money in the bank?
I've got 0.5, which I was thinking maybe could put Salah up
so
to Sanchez, but all Bowen. Yeah.
Solanke to Bowen, that would be quite nice. I mean, apart from that, it's very template. Nothing wrong with it. Nice bench. Looks pretty good. No weak links there, that I can see.
Yeah, and obviously the idea would be Esteve, Dubravka, Gueye, whoever you say his name, and then Anderson or Konza bench boost in game week 2. If it sticks.
Yeah, nice bench boost there. I think better than my bench boost team.
The same as yours. It's identical, I think, Jake.
Well, mine's a bit worse than that actually at the moment.
Okay. Andrew, any thoughts, man?
Well, I think Anderson in defence is a terrible pick. He got about 50 points last season, 58 points or something, and getting 20 extra points on the DEFCONs is still crap. They only kept 5 clean sheets all season. All the fact you could go for a Wan-Bissaka who got a lot more points, a lot more clean sheets, a lot more DEFCONs. I feel like this is where your review and possibly Solio bias comes into play, and you're thinking, the models say Anderson, but he's not a good pick. He's not a good pick. I noticed you've got Konsa.
You don't like
what
him?
Might be of interest. Well, I don't like
Konsa.
I did make a very good. You can go and check out my video if you want my in-depth thoughts on Konsa. I can't keep giving you all my channel content for nothing. But what I was going to say is that my channel's completely free. You don't have to pay for anything on my channel. You don't even have to watch ads. Although sometimes I put them on because my videos are doing a bit better, the bastards. But Martson, Steve-O was hyping up Martson to you as the attacking fullback. He scored against Newcastle last season in one of the very few games he played. Well, Villa right now have just announced the first team for their friendly tonight, and Martson is in that squad. Now, in that first team in the squad. So maybe Martson over Konsa might be a bit more exciting and might be better. Like, we'll go back to earlier when you were talking about as little money as possible on your bench. This is a good way to do it. The way you've done it, you've got a playing goalkeeper, playing defender, 2 playing defenders, and you've got a playing striker, and you've got no money to spare. So I actually think this, if you had maybe Wan-Bissaka instead of Anderson, I think this would be fine. I like the Semenyo pick. Bournemouth are being drastically overlooked because of that first game. But I know people say, it's going to be an emotional game at Anfield, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a good thing for Liverpool. If everyone's reminding them, and there's this big thing about the close friend who's passed away, that doesn't necessarily mean they'll be the most focused on the match early doors. No. It could take them 20 minutes to settle down and for that emotion to subside and to focus on the football. And in that time, a Semenyo, and Evan Ilson, a Cliver, they could easily get a goal. So I quite like this. I like the Semenyo pick. I would prefer Evan Ilson, but you could have Evan Ilson and a 4.5 million midfielder for the same price, which might get you a bit more points.
Yeah, Combs saying he thinks Ndide's off to Italy. Not read that.
He's been off.
Grealish is signing 2 for Everton, and he plays in the same position as Ndide does. So.
How much is he in FPL, Trig? Yeah.
Who? Grealish?
Yeah.
I've no idea, but he could affect your player there.
Could do. Yeah. And Semenyo, Greg's saying
Grealish is 6.5 million.
Yeah, it was the same price. So, I mean, if he got back to the player he was at Villa, that'd be brilliant.
They just signed Dewsbury Hall as well, haven't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, but Rodri of Man City is the same price, and he scored 8 goals and got 10 assists in his last season, and he absolutely kills it on the DEFCON. I think he's the 6.5 million to go for, and people are ruling it out because he's missed last season, but I just think if you're going to take a gamble on someone like an Njai, why not go for a gamble on the Ballon d'Or winner who got 18 attacking returns in his last season? Just a thought.
Lads, in the interest of time, because we want to be finished the next half an hour, we'll move on to Roberto's draft. I'll read it out, Roberto. The reason I'm doing this is just to make sure that it gets read out every time. Keller in goal, Gavardio, Diorf, the
Juve.
Diouf, and Van de Ven at the back. Palmer, Salah, Semenyo, Rodgers, and Kudos in midfield. Pedro and Watkins up front. Valdemarson, Morello, Richards, and Gui, or whatever, on the bench.
Yeah.
Talk us through it, mate. Talk us through it.
Yeah, so it's interesting actually seeing your midfield, Gary, because I've got some similarities with you, with Semenyo and Rodgers and Salah. I've got Kudus in there because I just can't shake the feeling that Spurs will be really good this season from an offensive point of view. And when it comes to clean sheet chances, I don't think there's a better fixture game week 1 than Tottenham against Burnley. I expect that to be a high-scoring Tottenham win. And Juve is one that, I think is really exciting. If you've watched West Ham in pre-season, he's been getting really far forward and, actually looking more attacking at times than Wan-Bissaka. And although sort of Wan-Bissaka is exciting, he is also very highly owned, Wan-Bissaka. So if West Ham don't do too well, but then, Juve gets an attacking return, that would be nice because Wan-Bissaka might price drop and then, we're sort of laughing with the differential there. Gvardiol is in there because I do think Man City's fixtures are decent, but outside of Gvardiol and Haaland, I just don't think anyone is nailed. So I think at least we know Gvardiol will play. I'm a bit unsure with minutes with someone like a Ait Nouri about how many minutes he gets, and other players like Marmoush. I'm just not as confident in their minutes. And Keller has been sort of swapped between him and Sells, but I just can't really justify spending the extra on a goalkeeper at this point because I do feel that eventually, they are just going to even out and it's going to be pretty close when it comes to the points at the end of the season. And then I've got some bench cover sort of if I need it with Murillo, who, I think, could well start him in this team, but I prefer sort of the fixtures for the other guys. And then Richards is there, who's got great defensive cover, defensive contribution points, and he's only 4.5 and a nice fixture against Sunderland as well in game week 4. So I think there's nice sort of bench cover here and some nice attacking options. And as I was saying earlier with the 3-5-2, I think this just maximizes that attacking formation really. And I've been pretty locked on Pedro and Watkins pretty much most of the summer.
Craig, I'll jump straight to you, mate. Thoughts on this one?
I'd change your keeper and bench boosters. You're going to put Murillo on your bench in game week 1 at home to Brentford. I'd be blooming bench boosting because he's too good to be on your bench for game week 1.
I expect Brentford to score, and I think Murillo's in there just because I know that Forest's fixtures are quite good long term. So, for instance, game week 2, I probably will, play either Murillo or Richards when Van de Ven's got Man City. I think they're just in there to sort of help out each other with the defenders where there's a bad fixture, I can sort of rotate.
Richards could do well in game week 1 as well because he could very easily get 2 defensive points in that game against Chelsea. And as you see my team later, I'll talk about it then actually. But I'd try and change your goalie and bench boost if that's what you're going with.
I don't
know if you've got any money in the bank or not.
No, this has got nothing in the bank. I just think like with what I was saying earlier with the bench boost, I think I've got to hold out on the bench boost for me.
Your team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Andrew, any thoughts on this one?
I have thoughts on certain players, which you can find on my video on my channel. I don't like Kudos at all. I just don't. No. He's not a consistent FPL point scorer. He's come to a new team, and we just don't know what he's going to do. We don't know what position he's going to play. I think there's far better options for the price. If you could find $500,000 more, you could get Brennan Johnson, who got 17 attacking returns last season.
Are you confident of his minutes this season?
Well, yeah, Maddison's. I am at the start with Maddison now being ruled out. I expect Kudos to have to move central. Kulusevski's also out. So who else are they going to play right wing? They might as well go with Brennan Johnson, who got 11 goals last season, was Spurs' top scorer. And of course, you know what Thomas Frank can do with these right wing forwards who cut inside and go for goal.
A couple of interesting one from Gravy Dave here. If there is a team leak that Frimpong starts in game week 1, are you picking him? No, I'm not. I'm sticking with
No.
Van der Vaart. Quickly, lads.
He will start because Bradley's injured. So
Would you bring him in?
I just don't think the Liverpool defensive fixtures are good enough, personally.
No, same here. Claire's saying a great 2 easy that goal for Villarreal. Deckers is saying, Darlow. Apparently, Andy was saying as well, apparently there might be a problem with the Leeds goalkeeper, so Darlow might be decent to at least start game week 1 for a bench boost as well. Mr. Scruffy saying, why is Gavardio nailed when City have Akanji, Ake, Stones, Diaz, and Kushanov?
I would expect Ake and Akanji to not get as many, and definitely Kusanov to not get as many minutes as all of those defenders, really, compared to Gavardio, who just is likely to. If I know he's out injured in any given week, then they can just play, for instance, O'Reilly at left back, or alternatively, if O'Reilly's out, Gavardio can slot into left back. So I just think there's a lot of ways Gavardio can get in the team.
You should downgrade him, put Murillo in your starting lineup, and play your bench boost.
Yeah, someone commented.
You can't convince me, Trigger, to play my bench booster. I'm sorry.
Tekka said Morello over Van der Ven. Right, let's move on to Andrew's team. So I'll read through it. So this is the team which has no top 20. I keep saying top 20 players percentage only wise in it. So the Bravka and Sells in goal, Van der Ven, Munoz, Gavardio, Milenkovic, and
Matthias
Nunes. Thank you, mate. Bruno Fernandes, Mahmoud Saka, Ahmed, and Minter in midfield. Evan Nilsson, Watkins, and Wood. I've got to say, mate, this looks bloody good.
Who are you captaining, though?
I mean, who's on the bench? And
well, it's not his team, is it? This is a discussion point, lads. I think this looks really good. I think this looks better. Well, I don't know. Ahmed and Minter are a bit weak, but I mean, it just does show, doesn't it, Andrew, what options there are.
Ahmed isn't weak. He's going to get 170 odd points. What this is, obviously in my video, I did which I'm hyping again. Go and watch. I did the reasons not to own the top 20 most popular players, and somebody in the comments, as you always get, why don't you make a squad showing if you miss them all out? So I've done this squad, and look, I wouldn't go with this. I think it's too risky to avoid all the most popular players, because if it goes wrong, you're in the mud. But you can make an argument for any of them players in your team. Any of them. And I think what this draft serves to do is to show the range of options available that will give you an edge over your opponents. Like Munoz, not in the top 20 most owned players. I think there's about 7 defenders ahead of him, higher owned. Munoz, one of the most, he plays right wing most of the time. You've got Matthias Nunes. Now, Matthias Nunes is being absolutely slept on. He started 19 games last season. If you add the clean sheet points he would have got 108 points. Now, if you extrapolate that over 38 games, that's 216 points, which absolutely obliterates every other defender in the game. And that's not even including the DEFCON points. Now, obviously, Nunes isn't going to start every match, but he has. I just feel people are actually really overlooking Matthias Nunes' potential. If you have a decent cover for the games that he's obviously going to miss out on. The rest of them, you don't need me to make a case for any of them players. They all have their own arguments. Everyone knows why them players are good. But Nunes is the secret weapon.
The problem is the games where he doesn't start, but he comes on for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever. That's the problem.
Well, that's a gamble, isn't it? If like I say, 19 games, 108 points. That's in half a season. If you double that, that's 38 games and 216 points in a season where only one defender scored over 150 points. That is a massive leap. That's Who do you
think will be his competition on that side, Andrew?
Rico Lewis. I don't think Kushanov will get many minutes at all. I wouldn't surprise me if Kushanov was loaned out, to be honest. But I don't think Pep Roulette will be as big a deal this season as people imagine, because they have a massive point to prove. They've rotated and rotated last season, and it was terrible. They didn't even come second. That's how poor they were. And Pep has a point to prove. He's signed up for 2 more seasons, and he is going to go for it them 2 seasons. And he wants to go out on a high, and he's not going to go out on a high by all this tinkery, tippy-tappy rotation stuff. I think Núñez is so far clear of Rico, Lewis, and Kuchinov for the way that Pep wants to play. I just can't see.
I mean, I think Pep would rotate in his sleep, to be honest. Like, I don't think it matters if he's leaving, whether or not he rotates.
Maybe so, but like I say, 108 points from 19 games. If he comes off the bench for 1 point, like most of these defenders only get 1 or 2 points a game anyway. They don't get a lot of points, defenders. Like, if you're going to take a risk in a position, why not do it in defence where, a goal and a clean sheet for a defender is 15 points minimum.
Lads, I'm going to move on because we've only got 20 minutes left, and I want time for Trig to be able to discuss his draft and then Roberto to be able to discuss his little part at the end. I'm doing a poll, by the way, on Núñez. 54% saying a bad no for a minute. It was pretty much 50-50. Trig, I'll read through this and then I'm going to have a bit of a go at you. Sanchez and Dubravka in goal. 4 at the back. Virgil van Dijk, Murillo, Pedro Porro, Rondon. Midfield, Salah, Palmer, Fernandes, Eze, Anderson. And then up front, Watkins with Dubravka, Anderson, Gui, and Barnes on the bench. The reason I'm going to have a go at you, Trig, is you made a very compelling video earlier in the week about a content creator we will not name, basically copying FPL Review, which was a very good video, and I highly agree with everything you said in that. But then you basically went out and copying Solio now, which is the new FPL Review. Do you want to defend yourself, my friend?
Yeah, because I told you I was going to put a Solio review on this show, didn't I? And I'm not hiding the fact it's a Solio team.
Excuses.
And it's not actually a Solio team, because what Solio wanted me to do, which I might well do actually, was to take Watkins out and replace him with Strand Larsen is my only striker, and upgrade Rodon to Milinkovic and put Raya in goal. That's what Solio wanted me to do, and which actually looked pretty good, because then I could upgrade Barnes and play a really good bench boost. So I might yet change Watkins to Strand Larsen.
This doesn't look million miles away from the review drafts, apart from the formation.
No, none of them do. I mean, I took Anderson out for a while, like a lot of people, because he was in teams at the start. But he's been, Anderson has been Forest's best player in pre-season. He's been really good, and he's on some set pieces and whatever. And at 5.5 million, I mean, there's a reason he's in people's teams, and he's looking really good. And Pedro Porro. Now, Pedro Porro, I was laughing at people getting Pedro Porro in after review came out.
That's the lamp.
But something has really changed with Pedro Porro, in that Maddison's injury has meant that Pedro Porro is now on set pieces, including probably direct free kicks. He's going to be on corners. He's on free kicks. He's on everything. And with that fixture against Burnley, it makes sense. I mean, he's earmarked to be replaced in my team by the Palace defender, Munoz. He's not going to stay very long. But for that first fixture, he does look good, because he is a beneficiary of Maddison's injury. And Rodon and Anderson, Rodon's in for game week 1, but Anderson will be playing most games. And having Watkins means that once the Arsenal striker gets up to speed, or Sesko, or someone like that, then I can swap that striker out. And it looks a bit of a weird team, playing 4-5-1. People are saying I've got no striker, but Gui's going to be playing. He's going to be playing significant minutes.
I love Gui.
So, and Anderson's on the bench. So I've got a defender on the bench. So I don't think it's that bad. It takes advantage of defensive contributions. I've still got Virgil van Dijk, who's obviously going to be pretty useful. And it's a nice even spread. You know, I could go even further, like I said, and put Strand Larsen in instead of Watkins. And you can make a really cracking team with that. Because I think Strand Larsen might actually be decent for 6.5. I think he will actually play. And I put Eze in this one because I'm a bit concerned about Chelsea because Palace play in the charity match next week. They're going to be a long way ahead of Chelsea in terms of fitness and preparation for this season. And I think there could be an upset in game week 1 where Palace beat Chelsea. Apparently, Eze has been very lively in pre-season. Whether he stays or not is a different matter. I might end up having to remove him if it looks like he's going to Arsenal. But, you know, he looks decent. And I think Palace could do well against Chelsea. So I've got him in for the time being. But there's so many other options. I mean, he's 7.5. So I can easily turn him into anybody that you guys have had on there, like Kudos or anybody, really. So many choices.
If you think Palace will do well against Chelsea, is there any rethink of Sanchez or?
No, because I'm not going to take out a goalkeeper just because of one fixture. But yeah. But we shall see. We don't know, do we, with Chelsea? We just don't know because it's a unique situation they've been in.
Andrew, I'd say the poll's closed and we're on no 55, yes 44 for Nunes is a good pick. Andrew, any thoughts on this Solio-inspired draft?
I think I gave most of my thoughts earlier. I think, like I say, if something happens to Watkins, who isn't the most liked by Emery, he was dropped for some big games last season. They've just brought in this new attacker, Goussard or something.
Oh,
yeah. So, and also Watkins could well find himself in the black and white stripes before the start of the season. He's on the backup list.
That's why he might become Strand Larsen. And
I much prefer Strand Larsen even over Watkins just in general. Not to mention what you could do with the extra money. But my worry is if Watkins does miss out, you're relying on Mark Gooey to play because there's no other. I'm not against it, but I would think a 4-4-2 would probably be a bit more beneficial to you at the start.
I want my 5 midfielders. I definitely want 5 midfielders. It would either be a 3-5-2 or a 4-5-1, and I quite like the look of this 4-5-1 to start the season. Because once we get to game week 7 when I wildcard or game week 8, then we will know that by then what the good strikers are, won't we? I mean, Isaac will be playing and we'll know what the Arsenal strikers like. Arsenal got good fixtures, so then I can switch to a 3-5-2.
I'm not gonna lie.
Season, I don't see a problem with this.
I'm not gonna lie, Nick. I think you might be wildcarding a lot earlier than you hope to, because I just think this structure just leaves you a little bit inflexible if you get, a surge of injuries and
If I get injuries, just either use a free hit or I'll surprise make a transfer. So,
I do think an important thing to remember is that Trigger said he was planning an early wild card. He was prepared to go early with the wild card, and I think that is if you want to take a gamble and you're prepared to go early with the wild card, it could well work out. Like I don't really like that Rodon. I know you say Anderson. I don't like Anderson either. I feel like there's a lot better options. Why not gamble on that Juve of West Ham with his attacking threat, or De Kuyper? People are forgetting about De Kuyper now. He has a lot of attacking returns.
This is why I'm looking at the Strand Larsen option.
Yeah, you could bring in Strand Larsen.
And instead of having Rodan, could have Frimpong in there or somebody like that. So,
you could have Strand Larsen. You could have Morgan Rogers instead of Elliot Anderson. You could have a 5 million defender. It's another option.
But I think Anderson could do as well as Rodgers, I reckon.
Yeah, I like the Anderson pick.
Lads, we've only got 10 minutes left. I'm going to hand over to Roberto. Roberto, I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to talk about what you want here.
It better be good.
Yeah, he wanted to. We cut off Trigger's team. So Roberto wanted to discuss how to make FPL fun again. So I'm just going to hand over to Roberto for this one. I've got no idea what he's going to talk about.
Yeah, so I've got a little thing prepared because, it's a long season. FPL is a marathon, not a sprint. And it's important that I think you play FPL in the right spirit at times. And there'll be game weeks where you're down in the dumps, you're questioning your psyche. A few times Andrew on his videos was talking about it last season, about how sometimes you can get in that noggin of yours and you can start to let it affect your performance. And, you can be like Nick and finish 35th in the world and be high flying. But sometimes you just need to have a way of playing the game in a fun way. And sometimes I think we put too much onus on doing well in FPL. And of course, it'd be nice to win the game. But ultimately, what you're playing for is the enjoyment of the game itself. And the people is the main thing, as Steve-O always goes on about. So I think number one strategy of how to make FPL fun again is embrace vibes. Embrace vibes FC. Stop picking players because of, but this player had an XG of 0.03 last season. He's overperforming his XG. Let's just enjoy the players for what they are. And if they are slightly underperforming in FPL, if you like them in real life, then that will make it, when they do badly in FPL, a little bit more bearable. If we're picking players on DEFCON only, where's the fun in that of picking players who you're counting on your fingers the number of tackles and contributions and interceptions? I just think sometimes we should embrace the league as a whole. Now, the Premier League is exciting for its flair players. It's players that like to take a game by the scruff of the neck and do things their way. Your Cole Palmers, even your Ariases of Wolves, these players who've just got flair in their DNA. Sometimes if you just pick them and they have a bad run of fixtures, you might be questioned by the FPL, cartel who say you should be picking players with great fixtures and long-term plan. No, sometimes you just got to live in the moment and enjoy it. Also, I think pick players that you enjoy watching, because if there's a game you're watching and you're watching Liverpool against, let's say, Newcastle a few seasons ago, and you've picked Darwin Núñez and you're thinking, oh yeah, I think Darwin, he's got great XG, and you're watching the game and you're tearing your hair out at every single chance he's missing. It's not a fun experience. Even if he ends up getting a goal at the end, you've basically used up your whole energy just watching that game because this player is just making your life a misery. So just pick players you think you will enjoy watching. Your Kaoru Matomas, your players that will get you off your seat, because that might just make up for the lack of points you get in the game. And also, if you don't want to look at stats and you want to just play pure football FPL, is watch match of the day. I think people always say, are you an eye test manager or are you a stats-based manager? Sometimes it's good to just go off your gut. And if your gut goes wrong, at least you'll have no one else to blame. If you're looking at stats tables that, Praz or, Black Box is prepared and you're just sort of shoveling stuff from that, sometimes you feel like that's not your decision and you don't own that decision. And so you feel a lot more robbed when those players don't perform. But picking players based off how they look, in your opinion, you're the manager. So let's have your football FPL opinions, influencing your players. Sometimes picking players under 2% can be a great way to make FPL fun again. And it might be stressful at times, but just imagine when that 2% player, that 0.1% player comes through, you're going to be laughing. And the final two things I'd say is pick sometimes.
Two things?
One player per team. One player per team. There's plenty of ways to make FPL fun again, Andrew. So you've got to embrace them all. Pick one player per team, because then you'll always have a stake in every game across the week. So if you're having a shocker of a week, you'll always have the hope. And I like picking players in every TV game so you can actually watch a team. You can't be shut out by the 3 p.m. blackout. And finally, be like Alex Volo. Sometimes picking differential captains is what's going to set you apart from the sheep to the shepherd, the good managers who like to take a punt on a Mikalenko because he's playing Leeds away and he comes up with a huge haul to be remembered by. So I think those are the ways to make FPL fun again.
Excellent speech there. Tekker's saying, Roberto's his notes in front of him. He's going for the Oscars there. No, he did that after you won the, what do you call it? The Elite, the Juice thing last season. You put that free.
Yeah, the Content Creator Fund.
I want to thank my mum, my sister. Any
I thought I'd
thoughts?
do an Andrew inspired rant. That one, I liked it.
Very briefly, Nick and Andrew, anything you want to say about that before we wrap up?
It's always fun until it's not. And normally attempts to make FPL fun, they backfire spectacularly. There's nothing fun about having 10 points.
I would say if you want to make FPL fun, start a YouTube channel, get entertaining, then come on the pubcast and get bollocked off Trigger.
Or come on the FPL lock-in. I mean, we actually had literally not a content creator. We had FPL Zyko, who's a channel member.
He was very good, wasn't he?
You can check out channel memberships. Let me finish my plug for 99p by pressing the join button. Yeah, he was because you were really worried about having him on, weren't you? Not him, but just someone who'd never been on before, and he was really good, wasn't he?
He was really good. Yeah, hopefully he's watching this show.
Hopefully, yeah. Did you?
And we might better get him back at some stage. Hopefully.
Yeah, Roberto, Andrew, did you manage to catch that one?
I saw some of it. I thought he handled himself well, although I don't know why he was like a vampire, scared of the sunlight, hiding in the dark, creeping out of the shadows.
Yeah, I'll be honest. All I saw
your
from
neck with his killer points.
all I saw from Zyko was his glasses. I'll be honest.
So do join.
No, I thought he did very well for a debut, and he should be very proud of himself.
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So do join me and Trig for the FPL lock-in, which will be at 9 o'clock on Saturday. No idea what we're going to be talking about yet. We'll find something Trigger. Maybe we'll. Did you see how the cat tried to turn?
Me and the cat are saying goodbye.
He was trying to turn. He was trying to turn your laptop off because he was so bored of Roberto's rant.
What? Maybe we can talk about his muffin fiasco again. I enjoy that.
Please do join our PubCast mini league, which you can join if you click in the link in the description below, which will sign you up automatically. League code S3DHWZ. S3DHWZ. Please do donate to the two charities that this PubCast is being done in aid for, which are Mind and Street Child United. You can find a link to both of them in the description below. It would mean a lot to us, wouldn't it, guys, if people donated?
How much have we earned so far from it?
Well, we'll talk about that off there. Not enough. Lads, before we finish, very briefly...
Gary's drank the profits!
Very briefly, got 1 minute each. Where can we find you? Andrew, you go first, man.
You can find me at FPL Nightmare on the socials and on YouTube. Get over to my channel and watch my videos because they're bloody brilliant.
Once they've watched Elite FPL, starting at 8 o'clock. Roberto.
Watch Elite FPL on the playback. Watch my videos first.
Yeah, make sure to check out the Form is Temporary podcast on YouTube. We're also on Apple Podcasts this season. So if you're into that over Spotify, then do check us out on the audio. But we just released a great episode just Thursday with Jack. I know that you were fuming about that one, Andrew, that Kanji couldn't make it. But, you know, that's why we've got a 4 to help out where people can't make them. But yeah, we're really excited for this season, and we've got FPL graduates coming on next week. So yeah, really looking forward to that one on Thursday on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts.
TFit Pod.
Nick.
TFit_pod.
Nick.
Exactly.
Trigger Talks FPL on YouTube, basically, and hanging around on. I will actually go back to Blue Sky. I think I've had enough of Twitter. It causes too many ructions. People can't behave on there, so I might go to Blue Sky.
Causes too much stress in all of our lives, isn't it, Trigger?
It's that Roberto. He just picks beef with everyone.
He does. He's terrible.
Yeah.
He's terrible.
Me. Yeah.
You gotta be more like Trigger and be relaxed and calm and never get on anyone's. Never rile anyone up on Twitter. All right. Yeah. So if you guys are not subscribed, Steve-O is one of our guests who hopefully will be coming on soon. Elite FPL, brilliant channel. They're about to start streaming. Hopefully now they do have a tendency to do what we did today and go a little bit late. But go and check out their channel. Go and join their stream, Elite FPL. I've been FPL. Have a beer. Please like. Please subscribe. We'll be back at this time next week for a proper game week preview. Please join me and Trigger at 9 o'clock on Saturday for the FPL lock-in. See you, everyone.
Evening.
Cheers.